911, where is your emergency?
Corner of Riley Thompson and Automobile. We come up to this lady. She's laying in the road. I think she was hit by a car.
Okay, is she breathing?
She is breathing. She's got a head injury, and she's laying face down.
The female of that particular finding party was a nurse and immediately began to try and perform life-saving measures.
You need to hurry.
Okay.
It's her fault, and it's really weak.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, who could do this?
Despite the nurse's efforts, by the time help arrives, the woman is gone.
One of those responding personnel was familiar with the victim, and the victim had been her daughter's basketball coach. She recognized who she was.
The woman is identified as 36-year-old Rebecca Bletch.
It appeared she'd been out walking and jogging. The location was probably about a mile down the road from her house. There was the assumption that she had been struck by a vehicle.
Becky's body is moved to an ambulance. There, paramedics make a shocking discovery. This is no hit and run.
Rebecca had been shot 3 times in the head, and 2 of those shots appeared to be from close range.
You always see stuff on the news and think that that will happen somewhere else, but not here, and it happened here.
When I arrived on the scene, I was briefed by the sheriff as to what they had found. On the one side of the roadway, we were able to collect her cell phone, a set of earbuds, and some sunglasses.
We thought that it was very weird that her stuff was piled up on the side of the road.
In the middle of the roadway, we collected one .22 caliber shell casing. On the other side of the roadway where the body was discovered, we had some blood stains in that particular area, and investigators ultimately did find 2 more shell casings located in the grass in the ditch.
Initial thoughts were that somebody was trying to abduct her or take her somewhere.
Detectives turn their attention to Becky's husband, Kevin Bletch. The couple had been together for 18 years and has a 12-year-old daughter.
During the initial talk with Kevin, he had what would be expected of a response when you're notified that your spouse has just been killed. He was very upset and distraught. Most people said that they had a great relationship, but there was a few people that made allegations that there were affairs going on.
Police start by verifying Kevin's alibi.
He had told us that he went up to the property with his daughter, and that's where he was at the time when this occurred. Between cell phone records and then talking with people that had been up at the cabin, we were confident that he was not here at the time.
After a year of dead ends, behind the scenes, a more sinister theory gains traction. Becky's murder could be connected to an unsolved missing persons case in the nearby town of Norton Shores.
We had a young lady named Jessica Herringa who was a gas station attendant, and essentially she just disappeared from work. The potential of them being related was in the back of our mind.
That gas station was set to close at around 11 o'clock midnight. She was in the process of closing down. Her purse was left there. All her personal belongings were left there.
We went out back, and then we noticed a few things that were a little more suspicious to us. And what we saw was a spot of blood. On the top of that was what appeared to be a cover to a laser sight on a gun and 2 little watch batteries.
As Detective Kasher examined the crime scene, a woman who also worked at the gas station came forward.
About around 11 o'clock, she was driving past the front of the store, and she saw a van go behind the store, turn off its lights. She found it suspicious, so she turned around and came back. She said that the back hatch of the van was up. She saw a male subject shuffle something and shut the back hatch, get into the van, and then leave. Not real fast, but leave. She gave a pretty detailed description of the van. It was a silver Dodge Caravan type vehicle. She felt it was a white male. maybe around 40 years old and heavier set.
Investigators believe Jessica was abducted that night. She still has not been found.
They were two beautiful young women. You know, one goes missing and the other's dead. Couldn't help but question, is there something there with the two of them?
As more months go by, investigators still can't crack either case. Then, on a spring morning 3 years after Jessica went missing, a 911 call comes in just after 8 a.m.
Oh. Hello?
Hi, this is 911, okay?
Are you guys coming? Are you coming?
Yep, we're gonna get some help there. How long ago did this happen?
I had to jump out of the car.
How long ago did this happen?
2 minutes ago, I had to run through the house. I'm in so much pain.
When police arrive, 16-year-old Madison Nygaard gives investigators the full story. Madison tells police the man was driving a silver minivan. They tracked down surveillance cameras near where she was abducted.
One of the detectives, he happens to notice a surveillance camera on the outside of a blueberry farm, and they just happen to get an image of the silver minivan.
The van is identified as a 2006 Dodge Grand Caravan.
We then get help from Secret Service.
They were able to compile a list of the VIN numbers of every vehicle that was manufactured to that spec. And from that list, find every one of those vans that was registered to someone in our area.
The list of vans is narrowed down to 31. Weeks later, they locate one that appears to match the van in the surveillance footage.
One of our investigators went out, and one of the vans that he checked was within 5 miles of where our home office is. And he called me and said, I think I've got the van.
The owner of the Dodge Caravan is Jeffrey Willis, a 46-year-old factory worker and father of one.
Jeffrey Willis had no criminal past. You know, took his grandpa to breakfast every weekend, even was known to be a bell ringer for the Salvation Army.
Later that day, police contact Madison Nygaard.
They put together what we call a photo lineup and showed that 6-person array of photos to Madison. And Madison picked out Jeffrey Willis as the guy that had tried to abduct her on that day in April. And we were able to draft search warrants, not only for the van itself, but also for the residence in where Jeffrey lived.
Police comb through Jeffrey Willis's home and silver van. They are stunned by what they find.
It's hard to describe that feeling. Inside the van, the crime lab located a toolbox. In the toolbox, there was also some sexual-related devices, restraint-type items, commonly referred to as a rape kit, and everything that somebody would need to commit that crime.
Inside the kit, they also find a pair of gloves that are sent to the lab for testing. And that's not all.
They located a Walther handgun, a box of CCI 22 ammunition. It was a Walther P22.
Inside Willis's house, a second team uncovers even more potential evidence.
There were computer towers that were discovered. We had members of our State Police Computer Crimes Unit on hand who were able to do some previews.
And they located thousands and thousands of videos of pornography. Majority of them were very violent, graphic, kidnap, torture, rape. Some of them even depicted murder.
Investigators also discovered hidden in one of the heating vents was a portable hard drive that had been obviously placed there so that it wouldn't be discovered.
Go ahead and see that coming and empty your pocket.
Police believe they have all they need to charge Jeffrey Willis with attempted kidnapping. They make their arrest. With Jeffrey Willis behind bars, forensic experts analyzed the portable drive found at his home. they make a shocking discovery.
They found a file titled VICS, V-I-C-S, and inside of that file folder were other folders. One that contained information from when Jessica Herring was kidnapped, and another one that had information related to Rebecca Bletch's homicide.
Within those two files contained a combination of different things. Newspaper articles related to their disappearances and deaths, the reward posters for both Rebecca and for Jessica.
To have a break where it looks like we're actually going to have answers is just a huge relief.
After 3 years of dead ends, police believe they might have found the man responsible for Muskegon County's two most infamous cold cases.
They were able to make a positive identification that that was the handgun that killed Rebecca Bletch, both by casing matches and bullet matches. Jeffrey Willis was also charged with the murder of Rebecca Bletch.
3 years after Becky Bletch was found shot on the side of the road, Jeffrey Willis takes the stand in his own defense. He starts by addressing the items found in the toolkit.
It's a kind of a funny story. My wife and I had purchased some toys, and they were in the house. And my grandson, he got in there and brought me a pair of the handcuffs.
This was where he thought his charm would win the jury over. The jury would believe every word that he said. When he described his grandson discovering he and his wife's sex toys, and he tried to make a joke out of it.
I remember when he took the stand, so confident in himself, but it was just lie after lie, and I think he believed his own lies, but nobody else did. It was really hard to watch him.
When the prosecution cross-examines Jeffrey Willis, they point out contradictions in his statements. Willis initially told police he never met Madison Nygaard, but when confronted with the evidence, he claimed Madison entered his van on her own accord.
All right, the defendant will please rise and the bailiff will publish the verdict.
Count 1, guilty of first-degree premeditated and first-degree felony murder. Count 2, felony firearm, guilty.
Six weeks later, Jeffrey Willis is sentenced to life without parole.